Hello, everyone. My name is JD Calderon, and this is Indy Comics Explained. And yet again, I brought another fantastic group of independent comic book creators. So please hit like, hit subscribe, share out the video, let everybody know we're here. Without further ado, I'm going to bring on the pinch hitter, the man who can cover everyone, every base. Mr. Tom Hutchison.
I had no idea this thing was called Indie Comics Explained.
Yeah.
Like, have we really gotten any explanations of anything out at this point?
I mean, we've tried. I don't know if we've done it well, but we've tried.
Indie Comics explaining possibilities of things. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
Exactly.
Like you're going to hear in this particular episode, it's all fluid. It's all in flux. Nobody knows what the hell's going on.
Exactly.
Just do your thing. And my thing's Big Dog Inc. 15 years of Big Dog Inc. this year. We're about to launch Penny for Your Soul in a couple of days to celebrate the 15-year anniversary of the book and the company. We're going to have our first omnibus out later in the year, on and on and on.
Cool.
Hey.
And the Coco.
See,
What's
Tom does know what's going on, and that is that nobody knows what's going on.
Right.
So, hey, I'm Randy Zimmerman, writer of The Atlantean. If you've seen that, very proud of those books. We've got 2 volumes of it out right now that follow in or kick off from the Shadow Kingdom, which is a classic story by Robert E. Howard. I adapted that Russ Leach did the artwork on. We had so much fun doing that we decided to keep doing it and take those characters and turn it into the Atlantean. So we're having a blast with it. 2nd volume is out. I believe the campaign is officially fulfilled, and the book itself is available over on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, any place that you can order books. So if you check for it, it's the Atlantean Book 2. So Book 3 we'll start the campaign for that in the middle of July, as soon as Russ is far enough along on the art that he's comfortable to have it completed by the time the campaign ends. I believe it's July 18th is the date we're shooting for. And for more information on that, you can go to russleach.com and sign up for the email that Russ does. It's very informative, and we'll keep everybody up to date on what we're doing. So.
All right, cool. And how you doing, Rod?
Hello.
Rod.
Doing all right. How about yourselves?
We're doing well. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Rod Espinosa. I'm a writer and I'm an artist. And I've worked in comics for over 25 years. My current series is called Adventure Finders. It can be found exclusive on my Patreon, just under Rod Espinosa, Adventure Finders. It's running on book 3 now, totaling about roughly 50 issues already. So check it out. And it's also available through drivethroughcomics.com and also under Adventure Finders. So thank you.
All right, cool. Mariano, how you doing?
Hello, everyone.
Good
How's it
to
going?
meet
Nice to meet
please.
you all.
Yeah.
My name is Mariano Benitez Chapo. I'm a comic book artist from Argentina. I'm currently living in the US. I've been published mostly at Dynamite, Cinescope, and Ablaze. I've been working already now for Dynamite for around 4 years. I'm mostly done. I did 4 books for Vampirola, Elvira, Wacky Races, and I'm working right now on a project. It's my first monthly series, 5 books, but I still cannot say what it is yet. Hasn't been announced yet, but
Gotcha.
leaving that on that note for now.
Yeah, I got you. We won't pressure you too much.
Thank
How you
Hello.
doing, Nick?
Good. I'm Nick Caponi. I am a publisher. The president of Sky Main Studios. I put out my book Purity. I'm also a colorist by trade. I've been in the industry for about 9 years now. I've colored for Dynamite. I've colored for IDW. I've colored for Archie and also Image. And also recently, I just wrapped up my 4th book with Mythos Comics Group with Ninja Witch. So, yep, I'm still coloring. But yeah, I'm also working on my own books and then also working with Mariano on the end.
All right, very cool. And we got AJ. How you doing, AJ?
Hi. Good. So my name's AJ Cassetta. I'm an artist and writer. I'm based out of New Jersey. right now I'm working on The End with Mariano and Nick. For the last 2.5 years or so, I was with a board game company out of Kansas City, doing things like board game design, dice tower design, a lot of dice designs. I've worked in video games briefly. I've done comics, so I've kind of jumped around between a lot of stuff. But yeah, most of my career has been based around sculpture, 3D modeling, painting, things like that. So, but it's really good to be here and to be promoting this Kickstarter we got going.
All right, cool. All right, let's begin. All right, so everybody saw the company the show question, right? Diamond is down, Kickstarter is still here, but what's the next step for indie comics, right? And then there's another part to that. What is basically the next big industry disruptor, right? Because that's what Kickstarter was. It was an industry disruptor. It got us moving from Diamond conventions. Now we got Kickstarter, where it's direct to consumer, right? What do you guys think? And I don't expect anybody, I sure as hell don't have an answer. That's why I'm asking all of you. So it's like, what do you guys think might be the next big industry disruptor? AJ, I'm sorry, but you ended up in that hot seat, so it's your question first.
Sure. Yeah, that's interesting because I mean we're seeing a lot of just so many different avenues to consume comics and consume things like that, like Kindle, digital stuff. I use Comixology just because there's so many comics on there. So there's just a lot of different ways to view this stuff. I think maybe the next big thing is just going to be easier, more accessible ways. I don't even know what that is really, but there's more accessible ways for everybody to just experience these things. And who knows if that's interactive comics, if that's, I don't know, motion graphics comics, anything that'll get people to think about it differently, to view it differently. But yeah, I don't really know. That's a tough one.
It is, because I mean, I don't even think Kickstarter predicted they were going to be what they became or what they are, right? I don't think anybody at the beginning could have predicted that. Everybody was like, "Oh, let's just try this," and things happened, and it was just worked out. Yeah. All right, let's see, Rod. What are your thoughts?
Well, disruptor not necessarily means a good or a bad thing, I guess. It could be both. Well, the current thing with AI, pretty much, that's a huge industry disruptor. And first of all, when this came in, I'll be honest, I thought I was all about making my work easier, which is why a lot of people, I don't know if you're familiar with my work. I do use a lot of 3D graphics in my work because I don't want to deal with rulers anymore. So because I draw and write everything myself and I color everything myself, having a model that's already colored up and all I got to do is shade it a little bit on Photoshop and add the right highlights, that works for me. So for me, I've started using shortcuts like that to aid me in my own work. And I feel like I build my own models anyway, so I feel like I've built the props, so might as well use them, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So I've done this for almost 20 years now, so I have a huge backlog of props, effect models, mostly 3D models, and a lot of things like everyday objects like mugs, glasses, spoons, forks. Every time you see a dining room set, that's already pre-drawn, and I just lay down equipment and items and probably napkins on there. Everything is all 3D or hand drawn by me. And even my actors, the lead actors in my series, like Adventure Finders, when you see the main character, a lot of times I don't even draw her hair anymore because I draw her hair so often that I keep them in files so that I can just slap on a wig essentially on her head. And so I do all these shortcuts. So when AI showed up, I will admit I got a little excited, because I knew exactly what I would use it for. I would use it to draw myself, but I instantly saw the potential. It can do rocks for me. It can do skies. It can do all these generic things that I but I manipulate later on and meld it with my own art. So in that sense, and of course, I also see it from a writer's point of view, because I know a lot of writers who need artists, and they're always frustrated with the artists that they get, and it's almost like a bad dating scenario. You'll always have the bad date. But if you're a writer, you must be so excited about AI, because for the first time you can write and then not worry about finding an artist. Really, all you got to do is put prompts in. I know how easy it can sound, and from that point of view, it would be a disruptor, because one day there'll be a writer will put in a comic book, and then he'll create it out of just all AI, and it would actually look great, and that's one of the things that I see in the future, that was, oh, okay. And but do I blame him, though? That's the thing. Like I said, finding a good artist and a good writer, it's like finding a date. It's so hard, and sometimes you get burnt out by bad artists that don't make the deadlines or whatever. I mean, Nick mentioned this. He usually takes his artists like a long time to do anything. And sometimes, well, at least they do it. Your guys are reliable. I'm talking about the guys that aren't reliable. And there's a lot of those. So the writer instantly feels freed and says, oh, I can just do it myself. And so that's a huge disruptor in my mind. And I'm still grappling with whatever consequences there might be in the future, because we don't know. Like JD said, that I really don't know where this is going. But I, as part of the Indy group, I'm just, well, we're here. We're good at surviving. So I'm pretty sure many of us will figure out a way. That's just my 2 cents.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. Mariano, what are your thoughts?
Well, to be honest, I, as someone who also has been like a little bit affected with the whole diamond thing, especially when like comics coming out on time, I think that like could be a little bit tricky. Like the last 2 books that I have published with Dynamite were like affected by them. Like I think the last one we worked together with Nick, the Wacky Races, Giant Size Wacky Races. It was due to come out on April 9 or something like that. I think they moved that date like 7 times probably. Like I ended up getting it like on a store, like probably like a month later. So like, how can you like plan ahead like at all like that? That's very hard. So I think that like trying to find some other ways to publish or like distribute could be like very interesting. Again, I don't have like a solution to this at all. Like I'm not an artist, but I do see like, again, this is for everyone. Like this is my first time like trying Kickstarter, so it's like a very big deal, but also everything's kind of new. So I'm trying to like learn the ropes as well. Like probably AJ as well with me. We rely a lot on Nick's expertise in this. I know he had like a bunch of campaigns funded. So I think that maybe Kickstarter or like self-publishing could be a solution. I don't know if it is a solution to everything, but could be like another avenue, let's say.
All right, that's fair. Nick, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I've noticed a few things people have kind of done, and recently I noticed a colleague of mine, he put his book through Walmart, like, and again, I don't know the process of how to get through that, but like, it's available on Walmart's website. I mean, you see a lot of not just comic book publishers, but also like novelists and people put out their stuff obviously through Amazon. Someone told me, and I don't know how true this is, but like Amazon has a printing option, like they could print your stuff for you, which I guess is kind of cool. But again, I would be kind of picky with that because I don't know what quality they're using or if we could pick the quality. Outside of that, even in regards for distribution, I've heard there are ways where some can even kind of piggyback off of bigger publishers, if not being put through them, like, share kind of like their printer in a sense of, hey, print my stuff, take a little bit of a percentage to it, and, maybe it goes with like their shipments to stores, like like, so there's so many different avenues. I still think as of right now, I think Kickstarter is still the biggest like, disruptor or distributor at the moment, even during this whole diamond situation. But I mean, even that too, there are, I guess, other ways to help like fulfill your campaign. Like I use a distributor in Oregon, Comics Mainstream. You know, when I started crowdfunding, I knew right off the bat, like I didn't want to make a factory in my kitchen. Like you see my apartment, I'm like I barely have space. So, I mean, I worked with Comics Mainstream in Oregon, and like they working with Sonopa Publishing, we would use him for like all of our books. So, I mean, there are, I guess, distributors out there outside of the Diamond universe that cater to us indie folk. But outside of that, I do think seeing that you could now publish your books through Amazon and Kindle, and also with like even like a store like Walmart. I mean, it definitely raises that question of like, like outside of Kickstarter, do we just start publishing books through them?
All right. That's fair. Randy, what are you thinking?
I've been looking for the next disruptor for a while, but it's nice to see the distributors getting disrupted, and it'll see what kind of dust settles and who settles where doing what. But like Tom said, nobody knows really. That's why they're disruptors, is that they come out of nowhere and they make big changes. What I'm surprised at this point that there hasn't been a large investment by a corporation other than the big, Warners and Marvel, to come in and try to start their own comic publishing, just because of the viability of the IP properties and the fact that I've never seen the market, I think, more vulnerable for somebody to come in and really run a great company and make a lot of money, especially right now with the retailers looking for product to sell on a regular basis that they can depend on. But other than that, I think the other big disruptor right now is that Peter Simeti's got a campaign rolling over on fundmycomic.com, where he's got a newsprint printer that you can buy in space time for to print your books. And his campaign's been very successful, and it looks like he's going to carry it out. So we'll have an American a newsprint printer here in the U.S. able to do small runs of newsprint comics. And Simeti has always been a stickler as far as quality goes. He's burned through enough printers to know what works and what doesn't work. And I think you're going to see some very interesting, good quality stuff out of there at a very low price point, especially if they're newsprint comics. I'm not sure what that price point's going to be, but I find it really fascinating that he's actually going out there and setting one up and, getting it ready to go. But it's going to come out of left field, the next big change in comics. I honestly can't tell you what it is. I played with a newspaper for 100 issues that I circulated locally that I moved 10,000 copies of real easy, but it was advertiser supported. We gave it away for free. But there's got to be more entrepreneurs out there, and I've seen a few that are trying different formats and doing different things in order to get comics out to the masses. So those people really fascinate me. I'm sure somebody's going to hit it eventually, because like somebody else already in the panel said, independent comics have a propensity for survival. So and this industry in general, once a large hurdle is set up, like a problem in distribution or a problem in publishing, somebody finds a workaround and takes comics to the next level. I think I'm just waiting for that next step to show up.
What's the website name again?
Over at fundmycomic.com.
Oh, fundmycomic.com.
Yep. It's one of the first ones on the main page. It's like a newsprint publisher. It's the title on it. But it's a really fascinating concept, because when you buy into into the campaign, you're literally buying time and prints of your book.
It's interesting.
It's a fascinating campaign, and I wish Peter all the best with it.
Yeah, I mean,
Let's check it out.
if it's the sort of thing where if you like that aesthetic,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah, you gotta absolutely. You've got to like
Right.
an inexpensive comic, but if you've ever seen any of the Alterna comics, he's figured out how to run color on a newsprint format and have it look pretty good. So
Yeah,
a lot better than the old plastic plates that
Mhm.
Marvel used to use
Right.
way
True,
back when with
true.
the gaudy colors. So
Yeah.
we'll see what he does.
My only concern is like, because I mean, he's raising, I mean, like an offset press
Mhm.
runs in the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's raising like 15 grand. I mean, I'm thinking he's running a digital press.
That it might be. I don't know.
Yeah, because that's the only thing.
But he's printing on newsprint, which is interesting.
Well, no, but some of the digital presses will take that paper.
Okay.
You know, but it's going to be sheet fed. It's not going to be roll press.
Yeah.
He's going to be, his costs are going to be fixed because it's a click count as opposed to being like, you know, offset where it's just the ink. Once you got it set up and it's running.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just hope he has the knowledge base to know how to run that type of business, because if he doesn't know how to print and bind and do all that stuff, he's going to drive himself insane.
Well, I know he's burned through quite a few printers over the years, so I think he's got a good grasp on what quality is and what he needs to do in order to get there, at least. So, I think it's an interesting step forward, and it's not one that you're seeing a lot of people attempting to do or trying to do. It's also nice to see a few people stepping up and trying indie distribution out there, which is nice to see.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think Philbo Publishing. I think what he's doing is Philip Russell. What he's trying is really,
absolutely.
I mean, like really, really good on his part and like brave, because because I can only imagine a nightmare that's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
We tried doing that back in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Early 2000s. We tried to do an independent distribution company. It was an absolute nightmare. Yeah.
Wow.
What Tom, are you familiar? Or?
I'm familiar with all of this, man.
Yeah.
All of this. Not specifically what you specifically did, but that's a whole show into it of itself as to indie distribution and why it has not worked for 30 years and why it's not going to work now, guys. But again, that's a different show. It's a different show.
Never say never,
I'm going to say never.
Okay.
Right now. I'm going to say never. Never. And partially because of some of my answers to this question that we have. I think sort of one of the next things that is going to happen in indie publishing is we're finally going to have creators that figure out that they don't need a publisher anymore. They just don't need a publisher anymore. Now, the ones that think that they do or want a publisher, generally speaking, are the ones that don't want to do the work on the back end of fulfillment and so on. Trust me, I get that, man. I get it. I fulfill a shitload of books. I understand that's a nightmare. But the reality is that taking your book and giving it to a publisher prior to it being crowdfunded, let's assume you're just making a book and giving it to a publisher, there's no money for you. There's no money for the publisher, really. That's been the way it's been for a long time. Even if you manage to maybe break even, so what? And I think that people are still stuck in the idea of where we were in the 80s and the 90s and kind of the 2000s, where it's like, this is the way that we do things. And it's not the way we do things anymore, because crowdfunder disrupted Kickstarter, Indiegogo, whatever. Crowdfunding disrupted the comic book business so big time in a way, like we talked about, no one ever really expected, but it became this now perennial thing. It is forever. It is here forever in one form or another, whether it's the same companies or whatever. Crowdfunding will exist eternally now. In fact, it's reached to a point where there's people that are making their own crowdfunding places for themselves. The system works. You have requirements, of course, that you need to have some control over your audience so that you can tell them where you're going to be and so on and so on. But again, that's the work. And the people that want to be like, well, I just want to give my book to a publisher and, walk away, they're the ones that don't want to do the work. They're going to weed themselves out over time. So I think that we're going to see a lot of creators going to be like, well, why do I need these guys to do, barring, of course, unless you're with Dynamite or Image or, somebody larger, obviously that's a different discussion, but there's so many little publishers that have just collapsed over the last decade now that were the hot thing. Like, let's get in here, let's get in here, let's get in here. And then now they're gone. So I think that that's going to be a big thing over the next few years. People are going to realize that they don't need that sort of, coattail to be on. As far as the disruptors go, it's been said in here a couple of times. No one's going to really know, because it's always sort of either an immediate snap of the fingers. It's either an Infinity Gauntlet snap and something happens, or it's something like Kickstarter that gradually becomes part of the lexicon of how we do business. But as we also talked in here, the one thing that is right now happening that is going to disrupt in some capacity is AI. 100% AI is going to leak into comics. It already has. There's comics that are on Kickstarter that have, AI covers. There are books that are produced that are AI on the interiors. It's already here, guys. It's already happening. And AI exists in so many different capacities, from just pure, like, generative, I'm going to type in a prompt and I get a thing, to like, well, okay, here's the prompt, but I want you to use my art to turn it into something, my sketches, turn it into something. So it's still generative, but it's coming from a different source. There's all kinds of ways that AI is being used. And with this, I can't remember who's suing them, but somebody's suing. It's like Universal and Paramount or something is suing Midjourney.
Disney.
Yeah, Disney, right? They're suing Midjourney, but they're not suing Midjourney for the AI. They're suing Midjourney for what's being produced by it. So in other words, they're not saying, hey, don't produce anything. They're saying, hey, don't produce Minions. Hey, don't produce Thanos. Hey, don't produce our stuff. Yeah. They're IP protecting themselves. Yeah. They're not generatively protecting themselves. This is a really interesting sticking point for me here, because I saw all the artists go up like, yay, they're going to sue Midjourney and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, are you the artists that are producing fan art prints that is illegal IP theft as well at the same time? Like, you're happy that Midjourney's getting sued for IP theft while you're producing IP theft? Like, this is a really jacked up situation, and I don't think people see all of the sides of AI. But it's going to be here. It's not going to go anywhere. It might find a way to be regulated in some capacity, but it is going to exist. It is going to exist in comics. There's really nothing we can do about it. So you have a choice. It's use it or don't. It's support people or use it or don't. And I'll tell you right now that the end user, the larger population, not just like the comic book guys, outside of the comic book guys world, the general populace doesn't give two shits how something's created. And if they think it looks cool, they're interested. That's it. That's their entire thought process. It's not who made it, who drew, what kind of pencil did you use, what kind of ink did you use, how did you color it on Photoshop. They do not care. It is simply, does it exist? Do I like it? Here's my $10. That's it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, to piggyback on what Tom said, I mean, early on when AI was first coming up, I would have long conversations with my wife, who's also an artist. And we would get into nasty ones because I like to play devil's advocate. And
I don't know anything about that, JD.
Yeah, I know. So, she would argue from the perspective of an artist, and I would be like, well, what if an artist were to take it and use it as a tool, right? What if, Nick, you're a color artist, right? So let's say if you used it and you could teach that AI how to flat for you in a way that only you know how to teach it.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
I have a friend who's had an AI build out like all his backgrounds basically, and then he would draw in his figures. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean that's the sort of thing is like at that point is how do you distinguish between that, right? It even goes down to the copyright issue. Does that mean his backgrounds are not copyrightable? Right. His foregrounds are. Right. For me, I letter my comics. If I could teach an AI to do anything, it would be to put in the damn bubbles.
Yeah.
You know, I don't mind doing the word placement, but the bubbles kill me every time, right? Because they
Oh,
take
really? Yeah.
put it, right? So if I can teach an AI to do it, bubbles, and there you go, right? So yeah, so I think as a tool, we have yet to realize what it can, how we can utilize it, right? So it's gonna be interesting to see. So yeah.
Well, I think. Well, we'll go into my question because we can keep talking.
Oh, go ahead. Go to your question. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I didn't know if you were done with your answer
I
because
was done. I was done.
okay. So my question is, we're going to keep talking about AI. The question is the general question is, we have writers in here, we have artists in here, we have both. Are you afraid of AI yourself? If yes, why? If no, why? And then we can kind of expand on some of our thought processes through all of this. But are you personally within your, I'm an artist, AI is there, are you afraid of it?
No.
Now, when you say afraid or threatened,
Either, whatever. Like, do you think that AI is going to do something to you to make you unable to do what you do?
right?
Whether it's
No, I'm
writing,
not.
whether it's art, whether it's whatever.
All right. Hold on, guys. Rod
Yeah.
is up, so let Rod go
Okay.
first. Because we work.
Actually, yeah, I mentioned this earlier. I'm not worried. Let me explain. I already mentioned that I'm already using AI as it is, but most people can't tell. Like Tom said, the regular person can't tell. But sometimes I don't feel like drawing a rock or a cliff face or whatever, and it's just easier to just look at AI and go, or make clouds. Those are things that I don't really want to buy. I want to do the story, and I want to do the action. I want to draw the foreground figures, and that's most of what I've been doing all these years now. Is that I don't have original art anymore because of this. That's the biggest drawback of this, is that when I do everything digitally, I don't have the 11 by 17 art anymore, and I can't sell that anymore. All I have is individual, people in various poses, and then I just slot them into the right scene, and I even draw things separately so that I can have them whole bodied, so that I can use just parts of them or whichever. Sometimes I just use people's legs when there's the scene of somebody on the ground and you have a background of all people's legs. That's just stock footage that I've already pre-drawn before, that I've drawn the whole person, and I'm just using people's feet or something. But AI is the same thing. Like, I need ground, I need soil. I just don't want to color that. I know I can, but I can. It's a shortcut. So for me, I'm not really that scared because people have always innovated, and I've always come up with ways to support myself. And as we were talking about, you were talking about Diamond and the distributing thing. I'll be honest, I barely put out a printed comic these days because I live by like online commissions and online comics through Patreon. I release my book almost exclusively at Patreon, and whenever a publisher wants to publish it, I just say, sure, publish it if you want. And it only gets up to a certain number of issues before they have to stop because of their costs or whatever. And I just said, well, it's just extra money for me, but a lot of my main income comes from online, digital. I have clients, like, even if I'm based here in Asia, I have clients in the US. I get paid in dollars, and it works out best because I can spend it here and I get more bang for my buck, essentially. And I'm active on all those sites where active on all the expat sites. And I always explain that the best way to use a US dollar is outside the US, unfortunately, because it goes a long, long way. And as an indie comic book artist, it's had a huge impact on me because I can do my indie stuff, and I can do my commission work, and I can do everything online and get paid through PayPal or whichever system they want to pay me in, and I still have a good life here in the Philippines. So that's worked out well for me, and a lot of it is digital. And I'll also mention that that if I release my work digital and some the fans download them on their tablet, I always say that the color would be exactly as I intended it to be. There will be no color shifts. There won't be any misprints. So I always tout that as an advantage. That digital release it's here, and then people are using it, and a lot of artists are also releasing their work just pure digital. And if print happens, it's good. But for me, I mostly print my work, self-publish them, but it's more to give gifts. Every now and then I'll sell the books, but it's really just to keep awareness of my product out there. But it's not really the end goal of my reason for printing my books now. Most of the time, I also give them to fellow artists, like as gifts, like I said, or family members. But most of my model is now online, so that's how I see it, and that's how I see AI. And it just helps me produce more pages with better quality. And it's not for me to do less; it's for me to do more. That's what I love saying whenever I have had these discussions about using electronic whatever, whether it's 3D models that I keep reusing or whatever. I have period set pieces like, old America, mid-century America, suburbia. I have the models as a backlot already, and all I got to do is turn the camera, shoot. There you go. Character as a background. I add clouds back there, and that's it. It's a whole comic already, and all I did was draw the foreground character. So yeah, it's worked out well for me. And when I see AI, I see a useful assistant essentially. So I'm not scared in that respect. That's just my 2 cents.
All right, cool. Mariano, Nick, you got something to say real quick?
Well, I think just to piggyback off that, like why I don't feel threatened is because, the one thing I'm just trying to wrap like around my finger with this whole AI thing, it's, even coming down to editorial. So like, how precise are, when for people who use AI and like, especially like Rob, when you were describing this, like, I guess what I'm trying to figure out is what level of, I guess, editorial can go through with using AI in a sense of, say you did a cover for Dynamite and the editor is like, I like this, but like tweak the background a little bit or tilt the camera a little bit or like fix Vampirella's hand so instead of it's coming outwards, it's coming up like this, or change the facial expression of her face to like, I'm curious more so the editorial aspect of it where, I feel like if say if like a lot of people will post like those like AI pinups of like Rogue and Psylocke and Storm and stuff, and they're all like relatively same like pose archetype. Like in regards for like a published cover, what are the grounds for even for editorial for that? Like what if the editor is like super specific in what he wants? And like I know there was like controversy. Like I have a friend at DC who edits books, and there was a cover artist that was trying to wiggle his way through AI, and they had to like scrap the cover because contractually they couldn't do that, but also they wouldn't take like editorial, critiques and stuff because again, I don't know the capabilities of AI and how, like, even in regards for color, even in regards for flatting, as you mentioned, JD, I'm like, how, like, from my perspective as a colorist, every page that I color, every book that I color, stylistically is different. That you might have someone who's more cartoony, where it's like easier to flat, or you might have a book that's like, Tom Mandrake, who it's a lot of open lines, organic lines. It's like, how does one tweak those things instead of like if AI is supposed to replace some of the work, and then by going back in and doing the work essentially over again to fix it, I don't see how productive that is in regards to editorial. So like that's the part where I'm at, where I feel like I'm not as threatened. I don't feel threatened because especially when dealing with editorial, both on my books and when I color for publishers, whatever tweaks they make, like I know Justin's in the comments, and Justin, when I work on Ninja Witch, like he's very particular with things. I'm able to perfect it to his liking, whereas I'm curious how far AI can go with that.
Yeah. Well, that's going to be a question we'll have to, wait on, right? Because
Right. Yeah.
who knows, But Mariano, what are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't think. I mean, threaten. I don't know, like if that's the right word. I know a lot of people use it, and like to each his own. But I think it's something that you kind of like, like you just kind of obviously you can copy with AI and like be like do this as Jim Lee, not like that takes so much of the value of like whoever works so hard to get to that point because like it's a tool and that's pretty cool and tools usually makes it like easier to make some job but like like I don't know like it takes a lot of work to be honest to get to a point that you can be published and it's hard work and it's like page by page you have to learn and do more and more. So I don't know, I feel kind of it's I don't know, cheating is the right way to say it, but like I don't know. I think that there's always going to be some value to something that you cannot like uh, recreate yourself. Let's say, for example, I cannot draw like Jim Lee, and that's what's and probably 90% of the ones who are here cannot do that. So that's why it gives him that value. That he is unique in the way that he does, and hopefully one day I'll be like unique in the way that I do my art. And so I don't know. It's a it's a hard one for sure.
All right. That's fair. That's fair. All right, AJ, you've had plenty of time to think about it. It's on you.
Me? I completely agree with Justin.
Oh, Randy, hold on. I said AJ.
Oh, AJ, sorry. Go.
Yeah, I mean, do I feel threatened? No. Do I? It's like I think being an artist is about building yourself up. It's about learning skills, learning techniques, learning all these things that make you an individual, and you apply those things to whatever you're doing, whether it's sculpture, whether it's comics, whether it's whatever. And to, I guess, supplement some of that with a tool like AI, to me, as Mariano said, the value of it, not only of the work, but of you as an artist, I think just becomes compromised. And that's coming from someone like Mariano, like Nick, who has worked so hard to become published, to become employable, to become this and that. And it's a very strange thing because I've worked in the industry. I've worked in an industry where an AI software can absolutely these days make a 3D model for you. It can make anything you want, right? But do I see AI being used for things like collectibles? No. Do very good ones? No. Do I see it being used for very good video games? I hope not. But what I see in a lot of those, the video games, the collectibles, the statues, the 3D models, I'm only speaking to that specifically, is I see so much of the heart and soul of the artist who created it that I can't believe they would use AI for something like that. And the same thing goes for comics. I mean, all of us, no matter what our ages are, we grew up on things like, like Lee Weeks, like Jim Lee, like all these other guys, and they all did it straight out of their heads. There's a magic to it. And this is my personal opinion that I feel like the AI takes the magic out. And I think that's why I'm not threatened by it, because that magic will always be craved by people. Even if, to Tom's point, people see something and they don't care how it was made. They just care about what they're looking at. I think there will still be a bit of that lost on people, or not. I don't know. But I don't feel professionally threatened, just because I've never been in a situation where someone's been like, oh no, we're doing AI instead of hiring you. So yeah, but it is out there. It is a thing that I do know studios use. So obviously it is a concern when you're working with a studio that has a strict budget, because they might not hire you. It might just be easier to use the AI or whatever, but that's up to them.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Randy.
All right. Finally, hey, no. Like I said, I agree with Justin. It's a tool. They're going to figure out how to use it. They're going to beat the technology on it is going to continue to grow. There's no stopping it. You might have a couple little copyright glitches that'll pop up, and people will get sued, and cases will be lost or won or mostly settled out of court. And eventually, the technique's going to be there, but like AJ says, it's just not going to have. You have to have the artist there working the tool in order to give it that uniqueness. A lot of the corporations aren't going to care about that. If they can find somebody that can work in AI and do pages for half of the amount, they won't be hiring the overseas guys anymore. And that's it. But there'll always be a call for certain artists out there who are working in whatever form that they work in, because people are looking for that magic. They're looking for that look or that original piece from someone. So comics will survive. I don't know if all of the artists will step up. You're going to see a couple of AI maestros step in eventually that know the techniques, know the tools, and can artistically use them well. Like you can already tell when a song is AI when you hear it, on the reels or whatever, what they use at. But there's guys out there that are like, they take comments out of the comment section and set them to music using AI that I think are really ingenious. And you can see a little bit of that creativity, that spark in there, being able to use that equipment and then having it put to music. I think comics are going to end up the same way. But you're always going to have old folks like me that always want to work physical, or that'll always use a Wacom tablet or whatever instead of using the AI programs. So, and comics especially are an expressive form of communication. So there's a lot of, especially in the alternative and independent market, there's a lot of alternative and individual voices out there that are doing art and giving parts of their soul over to their work. Then eventually somebody's going to figure out how to do that with an AI program.
Can I also comment about go ahead.
No, I'm done. You go.
Okay. Can I also comment? Somebody on the chat, I just saw something on the chat that says, so what are you going to use AI for as an artist? What are your goals? And I think that struck on that spoke to me, because at the end of the day, this is what I asked myself also. What will AI be to me? How will I become a better artist because of it? Or do I want to become a better artist? Because I've been in this business for 25 years now, right? And when I first came in, I've gone with other artists that are super talented. Some of them are friends of mine. And the very earliest things that they've done is sometimes they would literally take art from other comic books and just paste elements in it into their own work. Nobody would know, but then we would know. We artists would go, oh, that's from Akira or whatever, right? So like that building scape wasn't from Akira, and they would do that. And I would always say, nah, I would just do my own thing. And the crux of it is these same artists now today with the AI, they're using AI like a serious crutch. And I've seen their style deteriorate. And these are talented people. They could just rule the world, but they don't want to. I don't know if it's because they don't want to draw anymore, or because they're not motivated, or because they just find it easy. But again, I see where they are, and I'm like, I'm not glad to see where you are, because you're still struggling. I know you're still struggling, and your use of other people's art and now your use of AI has not helped you anything, right? For me, I'd rather focus on what makes me a better artist. That's why I still draw my own characters and I still draw my own key elements of the work, because I still care about my own performance. And I think it's all on a personal level like that, where all of us have that battle internally. Like it's almost like like giving in or selling out or something. And it's up to the artist, because I've seen these guys now that used to clip Like like I said, I know some of them. I'm not gonna mention any names, but I know them that they clip art from other people's comic books, and of course we would comment on it a lot. But now they're using AI and they don't care. And where are they now? It's like at the end of the day, it comes to bite them back in the ass or something. So to me, excessive use of it is not good as well. That's what I always keep in mind is that do I want to be better? Do I want to be a good artist? And do I want to keep drawing? And recently I had a cover which I had to draw physically on a piece of 11 by 17.
Mhm.
And I said, can I still do this? And I just said, yeah, you can still do this. You got to do the self-talks, and you can still do it. You can pencil and ink it. And I know that being a digital artist now, I can just do delete, but now I can't. Like, okay, this is go time. I have to ink. I have to keep my hand steady. And yeah, I think it worked out. So it's always a challenge. I have to challenge yourself every day. And again, it's up to the person. I've seen the result of people that use AI now, and they're not really becoming even more famous than ever. I mean, it's like it's an illusion. So at the end of the day, you as a person, what do you want? What do you want your legacy to be? And that's where I am, because I'm at a certain age where I'm like, I'm gonna leave this stuff behind me, and I really hope that it's something that speaks to people. And that's kind of my 2 cents.
All right, cool. For myself, I'm not afraid of it, but one of the things, and I heard this other person speak on it. I saw something, I forgot what he was saying exactly, but something that he said that was really interesting was he said his daughter works for a company, and she works for an insurance claims agency, and she's a claims agent, and it takes her about 25 minutes to write out a claims form, right? Like to fill out a letter to send to somebody or whatever. But using AI, the AI now scans the form, pops it up, she reads it, edits it, takes her 5 minutes. So now instead of spending 25 minutes, she's spending 5 minutes.
Right.
So instead of being able to do 2.5 per hour, now she can produce 12 per hour, right? So what does that do to the workforce? So you no longer need 10 people in this department. We maybe only need 3.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's what's going to happen, right? With let's say something like animation, one of the things that you see is you have key animators. The key animators do their key animations. The in-betweens, that's what the AI is going to be doing.
Right.
Right. So those people are going to be gone, right? People who do, well, I don't think there's been a paint department in this country anyway for years, right? Ink and paint, I think, is gone. I don't know, this country has been in the country since the 80s.
Mhm.
So I mean, that sort of thing, is also like gonna probably end up being, they're gonna be like flip flip, and the whole thing's just gonna be in color, So I think what it's gonna cause is where you see a Marvel movie, and go look at any of the ones from the last 10 years, and you'll see an army, literally an army of people at the end that did these digital effects.
Mhm.
Let's say 300 people, 200 people per department. I can see those lists being cut down to 20. And that's where the real tragedy happens, is that a lot of artists are going to lose their work. You understand? And I mean, it's just through efficiency, right?
Right.
And I mean, when Henry Ford made his line, right? Was that any different? Right? It's just
True.
It's progress. It sucks, and people gonna
got something about that.
Right. Hold on. Let
Go
Tom,
ahead.
Let Tom finish up.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. That's where I was kind of lean. I'm not really afraid of AI at all, because it doesn't affect me in the slightest. I can still write whatever I want to write whenever I want to write it. I still choose the artist that I want to. So in the context of like the indie world and us as creators, we can very easily make decisions of like, I'm going to write this script, I'm going to hire this guy, we're going to put this book out. Are there people who are going to just do the AI route? Yeah, like I said earlier, that's already happening. But I think that the bigger scale of it all is sort of at the corporate level. That is where it is going to be problematic. That is where people are going to lose jobs, because the corporate world, they don't care about anything other than that bottom line. So, there's been a lot talked about in here. There's a lot of talked about in the chat. One of the things that I think that people in the chat don't seem to understand that are anti-AI or whatever you want to call it, is you don't understand how fast and how much better this is going to be next year, 2 years. It is moving so fast, so quickly, that I feel like a lot of people that say like, AI, like it just doesn't look good, whatever. I'm like, I feel like you're looking at AI from 2 years ago, because I see AI stuff all the time that I'm like, God damn, how do I hire that guy? And then I find out it's AI, and I'm like, oh, well, I guess I don't hire that guy. But it's getting better and better, particularly within certain artistic styles. It's getting better and better. It's only going to get better. And at some point, it's like we talked about kind of before. It's not that we can't tell. There are oftentimes little things that we can say, I think that's AI. I think I can see the glitch right there, and that's the AI. But there are people who are doing these AI things, putting it into Photoshop and cleaning that up. Clean up the things, make it symmetrical, whatever it needs to be. Boom, there it goes out, and suddenly the telltale signs are not there anymore. So I think that the fear of AI is legitimate, but I think really only at the highest possible levels. And then, like we also talked about, there are tool elements, like what JD was talking about, things like that, in different non-generative AI, right? Is a whole, again, it's a different conversation. We're kind of talking about generative AI, where it's like, I need a Wonder Woman picture, give it to me. Boom, there's my Wonder Woman. And then the other part of it is, and this is the part that I've never heard anybody say, okay? And I'm a writer, so take this, all right? Prompters, good prompters that know what the hell they're doing, are writers. Okay? The writer is writing something into the computer and sending it to a computer instead of sending it to an artist. So when you come out and you're poo-pooing these people that are doing prompting or whatever, they're just writers using an alternate tool for their final outcome, right? What we need to be doing is figuring out who can do this stuff this well and be like, why aren't you writing? Like, let me take you over here and write a script and write a book and write a movie, and you have the descriptors that you need. Like, let's move you out of this AI zone and come over here and do something else, and use that talent, because it's a talent to do AI properly. There's garbage prompts, there's garbage AI that's all over the place. I need somebody who does this and whatever. These dudes will sit and do prompting for hours to come up with the fixes that they need, and all that kind of stuff. There's legitimate talent in that writing. Let's figure out how to take them and redirect them.
I just want to say, Martha's the comment above the one that you just highlighted, the storyboarders were kicked out about 2 years ago. So you're a little behind on that. The majority of the storyboarders no longer have any work because the AI guys have come in and prompted.
And the one right below it from Haven, listen, partner, you have to understand right now, art is in the eye of the beholder. Okay? There will be plenty of people that will look at your book and look at an AI thing and choose AI just because they like that aesthetic, whatever that happens to be. Art of all kinds, pencil, ink, color, digital, AI, it's all in the eye of the beholder. So don't think that you're superior because you're drawing, because the buyer decides who's superior in all cases. Okay. Within the context of consumerism, that's how it's decided, right? And we're all here trying to sell comics in the best way that we can. So I love that you're drawing, and I love that you have the attitude of like, I'm going to make the better sausage, like you said earlier. It's a great thought process. I want you to keep doing that. Keep that thought process. But like I said at the very beginning of this whole thing, the end user 9 times out of 10 does not care how it's made. They only care that it exists and how much is it. And as far as like the Randy, you were talking about the magic of art versus AI and so on. There's kids growing up with AI right now. They literally have it on their iPad. That's their magic. Their magic is, how do I make Wonder Woman dance like a hoochie? That's their magic. They're unconcerned with Jim Lee's style and all this kind of stuff. They don't know what it is. They do not care. And how can I do it myself? Now, the flip side of that coin is, I think in the long term, and I've told artists this and creators in the past to kind of use this within the context of your marketing. I think in the long term, there will come a time where, let's call it handmade comics or art or whatever, people made stuff. I think there's going to be value in that, because that's going to become a thing where people are like, you drew that with a pencil? Like, that's amazing. We already have that. We already have people that think that. But when AI kind of, takes over for a while, I think that the people that are like, we don't have AI in our stuff, this is all people doing what we do from beginning to end. I think there's going to be a lot of value in that if you can figure out sort of how to market that.
I think you're already seeing that coming through in the original art and the prices for original art.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
How they've been skyrocketing. There's a big admiration out there, a sudden realization that a lot of this stuff isn't physical anymore. And that there's no real artwork for the comic that you're reading. So the older artwork stuff that, when JD and I were first doing conventions, we could pick up a sheet of original art for $25, $30.
Yeah.
And now that same artwork is at least $350 to $3,000.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. So that's the end of this. So do you want me to play the
That's the end of this.
So AJ, do you want me to play the video?
Yes, please.
It's the end.
Earth is gone. Destroyed 10,000 years ago. But how? And why? Did a hidden power finally rise to slay humanity? Was men's hatred so great they gave it real, terrible form? Did playing God result in a catastrophic fate? Had old sins returned to haunt the sinners? Was an oath of destruction made beyond the stars? Or had Armageddon been mindlessly thrust upon a world where hope was still alive?
Flying snakes.
So many stories, so many possibilities. Gather round the fire and join us. These strangers have lots to say about the end of the world.
I don't know which one of you gentlemen.
I'm sorry, I can't really understand you.
You're a little muffled, JD.
Sound like
Sorry.
you're in a fishbowl.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I'm really congested. Hold on.
No, you're good now, but
It was your mic.
it was something
your
happened
mic.
with your mic, but you're good now.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. So gentlemen, whoever wants to walk us through this, I don't know if AJ, if you want to do it, Nick,
Sure.
Mariano, whoever wants to.
I'll handle it. So this is our project. We got together actually about a year ago to start this, and then a lot of stuff kind of derailed it. But then a few months ago, we got back into it and started getting everybody back up interested again. The project itself is, if you scroll down, there's a little bit of a blurb on what the project is. So it's an 80-page sci-fi anthology, and it's all about how the world ended. So set 10,000 years in the future, there's 6 strangers on an abandoned refueling station out in space, and they're all on the anniversary of Earth's death, of what they suppose it is. They're all telling their own stories of how it might have happened based on their own, what they've heard, what they've seen or picked up. And there's 6 separate stories plus an underlying sort of subplot throughout the book. And what you've just scrolled through now, those were each of these stories. This is just a little 2-page preview of each person's story. So that first one is mine. and I was a writer and artist on that one. And it's all about, a Martian princess is coming back from her war with Earth, and she brings a war trophy with her, which might hold something that's a little bit upsetting for the Martians. If you keep going down, The Descent that's Mariano's. It's about a diver who finds something below the ocean that could mean the end of the world. The next one is Madness Monster. This is by Tom Hedgelin. He's worked for, I know he did Siphon. That was a book he worked on, and his bios later on in the descriptions. That's his, about a bunch of evil guys wanting to destroy the world. This one is called Stardust. It's by Tyler Lanaz and Evan Conway. And this one is about a man who lost his best friend and amidst the end of the world wants to try and save his memory. Intelligent Redesign is by Peter Clinton and Tom Florimonti, and it's about a scientist trying to preserve humanity, but he may have just gone just a little bit too far in some aspects of it. Children of Onera is by Nick, and this one is about, you know what, Nick? Why don't you explain this one? Because I'll be honest with you, it's a little bit complicated.
Yeah, so this is like kind of like my deep dive into like horror. People might think Purity is like a pretty, horror, semi-horror genre book, but this is like my real attempt at horror and mixing it with sci-fi. Basically, there's a goddess named Onera who is like the goddess of execution and annihilation, and she's kind of like Galactus. She's kind of like the one who likes to destroy planets, and every time she marks a planet, she hypnotizes a group of people on that planet to prepare for her arrival. And in this story, it's children all around the world, and they all give subtle hints to their parents, their teachers, all the adults, that this goddess is coming to annihilate them. And it's also it's kind of like a mixture. If you ever watched the horror film Sinister, with a mix of Children of the Corn, and also a really fun twist in my story is that it takes place in December 1999. So right in that era where people already thought the world was ending, but then it was like, no, it's not going to end. But yeah, it's going to end. So it was a fun story I wrote. I did the pencils and the colors. AJ was inking my pages, and it was a really fun way to introduce horror writing on my end. So yeah, it was a really fun story.
All right, cool, very nice.
And then this is all of us. The bios get pretty long, so if y'all go to the Kickstarter page, you can see all this amazing talent we have, and that's one big thing with our project is we have lots and lots of great talent on the book, a lot of well-known artists and their work in it, however small or however large their contribution, and almost everybody is a Kubert School graduate. So just about, I can name people on there who were my professors. I can name people on there who were in the class under me, who worked with me, who were in class with me, and it was a really fun project to be able to get to do this with all these guys. And we have some cool stretch goals. I really hope we get to it because I want that coaster like a lot. So I hope we get to it for that reason. But yes, so we put a lot of effort. The whole team put so much effort into this whole thing, and it's just been, it's been really fun. It's been a real fun process to go through this. So, if y'all have any questions about the project, just shout them out and we can field them.
I was going to ask, you got a lot of artists working on this, and we all know how artists are. You sometimes it's herding cats. So, how hard was it gathering everybody?
It's a fun question because there was a bit of communication breakdown between people for a little while. And after we took a pretty long hiatus on this thing for a solid, 7 months, maybe 8 months, when we called everybody back in, I had in my head, these guys are doing other projects, they're involved in other things, I'm not expecting anybody. So let's just call a big meeting and we'll have everyone see if they want to keep going with this. And then just like that, every single person showed up to that meeting. And from that point on, this was back in April of this year, everybody showed up to meeting. And that from that point on, it was just go with everything. Everybody got their pages in. We were able to get this whole great thing put together. But yes, occasionally there were some communication breakdowns. But you know what? On the whole, just how great everybody was with the work they got us. I mean, clearly, you can see the amazing. Just this cover is by Giovanni Valletta. I mean, it's a beautifully done cover.
Nice. Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun. This whole thing's been fun.
All right, cool. I mean, all right. So obviously, this is a one-off. If this works out, are you looking to do any others? Are you looking to maybe get the crew back together? I don't know, do the end part 2, or or maybe the beginning. I don't know.
I mean, I think that like originally, like when we first thought of the project, we thought that it would be good to have like the end as a vessel of like getting new artists and like developing other stories and stuff like that. But could be interesting, yeah, for sure. I think that again, as I said early before, this was especially AJ and I was like our first time behind the scenes, being like in a more editorial role as well as being an artist. So it was very challenging. We learned, like the hard way for sure, a lot of things, but could be interesting, But again, we'll see like how we get like the funding of this. Obviously, like these stories like that, like if all of the artists that are involved in this one, like the stories that we have right now, I have like 10,000 probably in my head, but like this is a good experience and a good excuse, let's say, to be able to like put them into into fruition, because usually when you like, especially working day to day, you don't get to tell the stories that you want to tell. That's a job, like you tell the stories that you're like told to. So it's for me at least was like a great experience to change a little bit of that for sure.
Oh, cool. Listen, you gentlemen got 41 backers. You're 37% there. You got 20 days to go. You got a little bit of work to do. But, I think you guys can do it. It's a really, really good-looking book. And, just got to go out there and really promote the heck out of this sucker. Because, I mean, I see a lot of value there in the art and the stories. I think you guys, this can be a really big success. Very nice.
Thank you.
All right, cool. All right, so let's... all right, Rod. So you sent me this. This is Adventure Kingdom. So talk to us. What do we got?
That's my first foray into board games. Actually, I don't know exactly when it began, but it was around 2010 or so when I started cobbling together that board game idea. And it was one of those things where I was a newbie in that field. So I was just trying to absorb as much as I can. And I pretty much created the board game itself. And I just, at first I self-funded it. That was a terrible idea. And I spent thousands of dollars already on that. And finally I found that site, which is the board game creator site, and they had all the tools. So I just uploaded all my images. It's a great self-publishing site actually, and it's print on demand. So anyway, what the board game is about, I don't know if you're interested in hearing that, but it's essentially a puzzle game where you have a set of tiles and they all begin upside down. So you never know what you're going to get. And if anybody is familiar with dungeon exploring, that kind of MMO RPG kind of concept, where as soon as you enter a room, you just flip it over and it's always a surprise what room you're going to get. So essentially you're just fairy tale characters trying to escape a castle. That's all it is. And the challenge begins when other players are also trying to keep you from escaping because they want to win. That's where the conflict arises in that game, and that's pretty much it. Really, it's just a race to the finish line, and the finish line always changes because the board game always changes. So I figured that with an ever-changing board game, you'll always have endless games where you won't play the same game twice. And with a combination of cards and characters that you can use, you'll always have a different game all the time. And so far, people like it. People seem to like it. But again, it's an indie product, so it's so hard to get in. Again, we're experiencing this indie thing again, where it's so hard to get into the mainstream. But it is out there, and it's always like it's print on demand, like I said. So at least I'm glad that it's out there already. And every now and then I just have to promote it aside from my comic book work. So I recently went to a board game convention and I promoted it there, and people seem to like it. So all I can do is hand out the cards and see you can order it online. It'll get delivered to your house. So that's pretty much it. Do you want to learn anything more? Or?
No, I mean, what's the website? What is this? This is the gamecrafter.com?
Yeah, gamecrafter.com/game/adventure kingdom. Yeah. But you can actually upload your own game. Like I said, it's a great website. They have resources like you can choose your own tokens, you can choose your own dice, and there's a costing machine that they calculate the cost. And they're a great service. I can't speak highly of them enough. It's that's why it's on there, and I always try to promote the company too. So they've been great. They've been great to work with, and it's an easy way to put out your own board game without having to put out a lot of your own money to it. Because before that, I had to print all those games myself. Including the errata, which anyone who plays Magic the Gathering knows it's a bitch to keep editing these things, because players will always find some creative way to use your card not the way it was intended to be used because of how you wrote it. It's a writing challenge for sure, and it really stretched my abilities, but I'm glad to get the exercise, so to speak.
All right, cool. So everybody go check that out. But I wanted to get through that real quick because I wanted to get to your comic work, which is Adventure Finder. So talk to us about Adventure Finder.
Yes, yeah. Drive Through Comics is also a great site for releasing your own work. And they've already given me like quite a bit of a decent income because of that. That and the Patreon and all my private commission work. That's how I'm able to stay afloat these days. But yeah, it's also a great site. And Adventure Finders it's essentially about if anyone plays again video games, they're level 1 characters in the beginning. And then they struggle through the usual shenanigans that low-level characters struggle through. But by book 3, they're already sort of high level. So you're seeing episodes in book 3 there where their friendship is being tested for real and everything. And they go through a ringer. They get separated and all that. And, it centers around those 3 characters that you just saw. A fighter, a healer, and a mage, So, and then an entire group shows up out of that. They start getting more members into their team. There's conflicts, like the priestess doesn't like the necromancer for obvious reasons, that kind of stuff. But it's just a regular rollicking adventure, sort of like a Lord of the Rings, but with just more women, essentially. That's how I start to, that's how I describe it. So, and I also focus on a lot of the post-battle things because from a writer's point of view, I just go, you know what? Nobody focuses on what happens after the fight, who cleans it up, that kind of thing. So they have members in that group that take care of that stuff. And what I found out in writing this series is that the persons taking care of the aftermath are actually more important than the persons fighting the battle itself. It's who deals with the aftermath. Like they befriended this noble who does so many things for them behind the scenes, and so I kind of lead readers into that kind of world, where this is actually what happens after this battle is fought. So it's very interesting that way. Of course, there's a lot of fighting in it, so much fighting.
So I was going to ask you about
Yes.
how many pages in, like how many pages, if you would have had to count all the pages, how many pages in are you in?
Oh my gosh. So that one is 3 books, and each book is like 17 chapters or issues long, and every issue is 24 to 32 pages. It varies. The thing about publishing online, this is what I found out, is that every now and then I would think of a additional deleted scene, so to speak, and I would just draw it out and say and tell my subscribers, here's a perk that you want. I mean, here's a perk that you might be interested in. I just added this scene after this episode, after this chapter. I just start inserting bits of story wherever I could, just to make it better, so to speak. So yeah, that's been received quite well, with the result that these books are almost now unpublishable, because some of them are 40 pages, some of them are 35, just these odd numbers, because I just write and draw and just bang. When you have an online presence, the page count doesn't matter.
Right.
So yeah, it's just been fascinating to me.
So at least we would say at least 3,000 pages.
More than that, for sure.
Wow, that's
probably going to be like 2,000 by now. Yeah,
right.
It's a lot of pages.
It's a lot of pages. Yeah. No, it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah,
it's awesome, man. I mean, yeah,
it's turning out to be my longest series in my entire career. Because before this, my longest series was 20 episodes, and I thought that was long. This one is bordering now, nearing 50. And it's still going. I just wrote the epilogues, but then one of my readers says, the epilogues sort of seem like they lead into another book. I said, yeah, maybe they might.
Yeah, I know that feeling, sir.
There are, as you can see, there are epilogue episodes there, which kind of like, it feels like Lord of the Rings Part 3, where there's a long ending to that, and I'm trying to mirror that the same way here. There's so many endings that I need to tie up, so that's what I'm doing right now, tying up book 3. So that's book 3 again, Bonds of Friendship Tested. So, and it's difficult when you have to write like the death of somebody. I'm like, oh yeah, it's one of those things. So in the epilogues, they actually attend that character's funeral and everything. So yeah.
Is there going to be a book 4?
If I have the time, yes, I'm working on a book 4. There's already notes for a book 4. And essentially, like I said, the epilogues kind of hint at a book 4 already. Although you can enjoy the whole thing. I mean, I try to write it that way, to where the readers are happy and satisfied, even if there isn't a book 4, but there are materials for a book 4, if that makes sense.
Right. No, it's really cool. All right, so yeah, man, check it out on Drive. It's awesome. Yeah. I mean, it is really cool. All right, we got this other guy here. He likes to think himself as a big dog. Here we go, Tom. What are we looking at?
Well, close that.
This is what you sent me.
Yeah, I sent you something else.
You did?
Yes.
Oh, God. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
This is why we need Rosario here, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure. Here we go. Do you want me to play this video?
Sure. For all those people that say you never do videos, there you go. We got a new video for you all.
All right, cool. So when is this dropping, Tom?
This is Tuesday night. We are dropping this Tuesday night. This is the 15-year anniversary of Penny for Your Soul. This is the book we launched way back in 2010. It is still running. We have done 4 or 5 volumes of this book. This will be sort of a smaller in-between volume that'll connect between volumes 4 and 5. It's basically the gist of the book is a demon decides she wants to get in on the end of days battle between heaven and hell. So she sets herself up in Las Vegas with a hotel and casino and offers to buy her patron souls for $10,000. So heaven and hell take notice of the missing souls and come looking. And that's what kicks the whole thing off. And now we're doing a sort of a focused story on Mary Magdalene and the 7 demons that were exorcised from her way back in the time of Jesus. So that's what this book is. It's Mary Magdalene, 7 Demons. It's going to be a 40-page book. We've got amazing cover artists, some just ridiculous people involved in this book. And it'll be a 3-week campaign launching Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And it'll wrap up kind of middle of July.
All right, cool.
And this is the first really, unless you're a Patreon person, you guys are seeing this for the first time. Whoever's watching this video right now, all of this is debut visuals for y'all. And you can get all of the past books, easy to get, physical or digital, as well as the new stuff. If you're not familiar with Big Dog Inc., we have Big Dog Inc. catch-up tiers for all of our different books, so you can try out those as well. It's kind of a template for us now. We kind of do things the same way every time, so it's very easy for people to kind of know how to do their pledging. But if you're new, it should be a very easy structure for you to understand what we're doing.
Cool. Now let me ask you a question. Where are you meeting all of your artists? Are you finding them online, convention?
Oh, this is all AI. Everything here is AI.
Good job, Tom. Good job.
A lot of these guys I've been working with for years, and I found them in various places, either like old school digital webbing website way back in the day, or Facebook. And then once I kind of get involved with some of these guys that are part of studios, I can tap into the studio and be like, okay, let's get some more guys. But some of the dudes like Steven Segovia, who did the Joan of Arc cover, he's worked for Spawn and Marvel and all that. I just messaged him on Facebook. I was like, hey, I love what you do. Can we get you to do something? He was like, sure, let's go. So that came out incredible. Juan Jose Rip right there, that guy, another dude who's been doing this forever. And I reached out to him and said, this is what I'm doing. I'd love to have you on board. He said, yeah, let's do it. Incredible piece. Elena Di Napoli on the colors. Ridiculous. There's Steven Segovia, a couple pieces down. Nia Ruffino on the colors. So, just really crazy, just new people that I'm getting kind of tapped into. A couple of years ago, we got Joe Chiodo to come be part of what we do. And I've got my fingers out there looking for some more people, some amazing names for what'll be issue 2 of this. It'll be coming out in November.
Very nice, very nice. You said Tuesday night. Yep. I'm going to be on Lori Calcaterra's show in the morning, and then we will launch this 8 p.m. that evening. We'll be live. We'll be doing a little show. There's 24-hour stuff. So if you're there within the first 24 hours, there's special books you can only get within those 24 hours. And then there's just freebies that are automatic. If you're a backer within the first 24 hours, it's just automatic freebie stuff, not stretch goals, just bonus items. All right, cool. All right, Randy.
Yeah.
What's your question?
What's my question? I honestly don't have much of a question.
It's okay.
But I would say I do 2 podcasts a week where we look at old classic comics. I mean, comics that really inspire us, that get us fueled up to do more of our best work. So coming up with a question off the top of my head, what artist, what run, what story out there really in comics really inspires you and gets you running. It creates the juices flowing, and is something that you have always loved and admired in comics.
Fair enough. Mariano, you're up.
Sorry. Come again with that question, please.
Yeah, in comics, in the art form, sequential art, and that what property, what story really has inspired you to stay in this business and to try to achieve that level of greatness?
Well, I think that the first comic that I read, I was definitely too young to read that one, but I was probably 9 years old, and it was New X-Men by Grant Morrison. And I always thought, obviously didn't know anything, but back then, not that I know that much now, but I always thought okay, comic books were for kids. But then I saw New X-Men. I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. I don't know. I was 9, so to me it was insane. But I think as a older, a little bit when I started getting super into the art aspect of it, I think that the first time that I was visually moved, let's say, by a piece of art will be Frank Miller's Sin City. That was oh my god, this guy is insane. How easy it makes it look, how striking everything is, the contrast. That was pretty good. To me, that was great. And then from then on, you start looking more into what makes that even better. I think that once I discovered Lee Weeks, everything changed in a sense of okay, that's how I want to do storytelling. And if you're in this business, you definitely love storytelling, and the way he makes art is insane. And I think that lately the last thing that I saw that really again put me into, oh my god, what am I doing? I need to get much better right now. Was the Human Target. That one, the Greg Smallwood. That thing to me is I don't know. It's probably the best piece of art I've seen in comic books, and in as something very different in the last, I don't know, 5 years, probably more. I don't know, but to me it was very striking for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. Nick, what are your thoughts?
The first comic I ever picked up, again, like Mariano, I think I was a little too young to be reading this guy's stuff, but it was Catwoman number 13 with Jim Ballant, and it was when Catwoman was fighting Azrael in that ultra amazing 90s costume that Azrael had. And from that point on, I studied a lot of Jim Ballant stuff over time. Still in maybe 14, I started reading Tarot, which again, I think I was obviously too young to read Tarot, which is the Black Rose. But I really just loved his work. I loved his women. Really inspired me to make, comics with characters of that nature. And then I got intrigued. I even when I started reading Lady Death at a young age, I kind of started in a weird way. I didn't start reading it when Stephen Hughes was drawing it. I really got into Lady Death when Ivan Reis, I don't know how you pronounce that guy's last name, was doing it. And controversially, I think he draws the best Lady Death of all time. So I'd say I'm torn between Jim Ballant and Ivan Reis, but those two are kind of the ones that made me want to draw comics. So
yeah, that's cool. AJ, what are your thoughts?
So when I was a kid, there was a comic shop right down the street from me, and I would go there and just get old back issues of stuff. Well, actually, some of them were new releases at the time. Hulk Gray, Tim Sale did that one, and Jeff Loeb. That was God, I don't know. I was very young when I read that one. That's the first one I remember reading, besides Trinity. Trinity was another one. And then Frank Miller's Daredevil was another one. Man Without Fear. Those are the ones I can most vividly remember. But what I was obsessed with when I was a kid was those Bionicle Legos, and they had comic books. And only as an adult do I have all of them. I have all the comic books, and like only now as an adult do I realize they were DC books, and I was like, that's pretty neat. None of those really, though, I think really pushed me to be an artist so much until I actually have it right here because I read it all the time. It's the one that I guess influenced me the most is Steve McNiven's run on Civil War.
There you go.
To me, that was just, I don't know what, I think it was the combination of just him, and I can't remember the colors by name, unfortunately. That's bothering me. I could just look in it, but the whole team, the whole production, like everything in that
Justin
book.
Ponzer, maybe?
I can literally look at it right now.
I have to look now. Yeah.
Yeah, right now I gotta know.
There you go.
It was Maury Hollowell did the colors, and Dexter Vines. He was the main inker on it. And oh my God, when I read this, I think to me that was the first one I read where I looked at it and I was like, to me this is like watching a movie. Like this is like watching a movie in my head. And then I kept that, but then when I got to the Kubert School and I got to see artists like Lee Weeks, like I got to see his work in person. I got to see Tom Mandrake and people like that. It was really especially those two guys and Jan Duursema, and then picking up their stuff after that really pushed me, like Mariano said, to just be like, I got to get better like right now. That's exactly, especially what Lee and Tom and Jan, what their work did. So, but Civil War was probably the one that I keep next to me to say, okay, this is the standard, and you have to try and meet the standard or it's not good enough. But yeah.
All right, cool. Rod, what are your thoughts?
We're talking about the influences here, and are we? Or
that one particular series that really sparked you, that just drove your inspiration to try to match or be better than?
What made me a better artist, because as a kid I grew up watching anime here in Asia. So at first a lot of people will see that I have anime influence easily in my art, but my first exposure to comic books was there's a book called Maida Psychic Girl, which is also a manga.
Oh yeah.
And it was only like one episode, but I kept rereading that because that's the only book that I had and it was on sale. Okay. And a lot of y'all, like when I moved to America later on, and everybody had the stories about the books being so available near them. I'm like, oh, you guys are so lucky, because Marvel books were so hard to come by, and they were imports. So really, only the rich kids had the books, So, but then luckily, I had a couple of rich friends, so they would lend us copies, and so that's where I started my love affair with Jim Lee and Arthur Adams especially. I really love the detail work, and their work pushed me to become a better artist. And especially we all went, I know a lot of us who grew up at that time, we all went through the Jim Lee phase. We were all trying to draw like Jim Lee. I mean, if I look back at my earlier work, I was trying to be a Jim Lee clone, but then eventually, like I tell a lot of people, you'll find your own voice eventually. And so I finally found my own style. But those artists, the Image 7, those are the guys that really pushed me to become like, oh, if they can do it. And in another thought is that when they made Image, that really changed the way I look at comics and publishing in general too. And so I thought, well, if they can do it, I guess I can self-publish too. So yeah.
Sure, yeah.
With results, of course, not as successful as they were, but yeah, I'm still proud of what I did. But yeah, a lot of influences, those guys.
All right, cool. Tom, what are your thoughts?
Well, my answer for this is pretty much always the same. That I know that the biggest influence on me has always been Chris Claremont and the stuff that he did with the X-Men specifically. But it was the world building that he did. and he almost, there's a great interview that he did with Ann Nesenti and Louise Simonson, where they were talking about how he came to them one time and he was like, I don't know what to do anymore. And Louise was like, the hell are you talking about? You've got like 20 unfinished threads that you've done throughout all of these things. And so he was almost world building without even realizing he was world building. And then he got to a point where he started to be able to use all of that and organically elevate, the X-Men and the New Mutants and whatever else he was doing. So I was clearly inspired with the methodology of his storytelling and his world building, his characterization that he did. That's very clear in the stuff that I do. But then in the modern sense, there's a couple of things that I've been really paying attention to. One, weirdly enough, is Gunfighter Spawn. I had no idea I was going to ever even pick this book up, but I love Brett Booth. And so I was flipping through the book and I'm like, what the hell am I looking at? This is incredible. And so I grabbed the first trade and I'm just watching. I'm not even really reading it. I'm just looking at how he's putting this book together from a visual sense. And I'm like, this is like feeding my brain right now. Like he's so triggering to how I'm like, this is how I would do this. Like, how can I make this better? And now I don't know, because Todd McFarlane writes the book. So I don't know how much of that is Todd telling him do it this way and how much it's just Brett doing it his way. I would love to see like what the script is versus what Brett does. But the end result is just so visually compelling that I can't stop looking at it. It looks amazing. But then the one that, from a writing sense, the one that I've told Steppen this many times, it pisses me off every time he puts something out, is Sunstone. And Sunstone was a book that he was putting out for free on DeviantArt, and sort of his own webtoons or whatever. He was just like, hey, here's a thing and I'm just going to give it to you. And it went wildly popular, like wildly popular. I didn't come across it till he was well into like volume 3 or something, and some friends of mine had it. And I was like, what the hell is this? And they were like, oh, this is this book. It's kind of about these two girls, and it's it's very NSFW. And I'm like, okay, give me that. But surprisingly, it wasn't like this overt sexual thing. It's very BDSM and all that kind of stuff. But the way that he, again, presents the art is incredible. His artistic skill is incredible, but the storytelling of the pages is incredible. But then beyond that, again, from the writer's standpoint, his ability to make these characters so perfectly three-dimensional, so real, the dialogue is so accurate, is the best way that I can even say it. It's like it feels like everything is supposed to, there's nothing forced anywhere. And every time I would read like a new volume, I'd be like, God damn it, how is he doing this? And I have to study like the all of the little things that he was trying to do to bring these two characters and the world together. So those would be kind of like the three: the old school Claremont, whatever the hell is happening with Gunfighter Spawn, and Sunstone.
All right, that's fair. Well, I guess if I was to go really old school, it would be Frank Miller's initial run on Daredevil. That's always something that I've always wanted to not write anything like it, but just right up to that level.
Mm-hmm.
Right. At the same time, when I discovered, maybe a few years later, was Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, which was just, when I was a 12-year-old kid, I mean, it was like the side of my head exploded reading that stuff. It was just like, but a little bit later on, I encountered another one that's not even true. I think even before I encountered, before I encountered Swamp Thing, I think I encountered Bill Willingham on Elementals, right? And Bill is one of those guys that I followed throughout his career. And when he ended up in DC doing Fables, that's probably one of those series with him and Mark Buckingham and all the other various artists he's worked with on that, where it's just, I mean, the story from issue 1 to 75 is as strong as I think as anything that Moore and Miller and all those other guys have ever done. Issues 1 through 75, because that is one complete story, and you could just read that and go. And I think that's all A+ material. And then from 76 to 150 is really solid and really good, but it does fluctuate a little bit because towards the end it gets excellent, and then there's some stuff in the middle that's like, But I mean, Bill Willingham on that stuff. And and then there was stuff like Dave Sim on Cerebus, right? Like,
Oh
it's
yeah.
incredible. Especially, like I said, again, another guy with up to issue 150, and then beyond that he kind of loses his mind. Dynamo Joe was always a favorite of mine as a kid. And it's just like, so much stuff, that's going on right now. And and I don't want to leave out BPRD by Mac Mignola and various, fun story, 15 volumes. I don't even know how many volumes are that damn thing, but just
There's a lot of it. Yeah.
Yeah, just overall, just a very fun story. If you don't mind seeing the Earth being destroyed. All right, so Randy, your question. What's your answer?
Yeah, for me as a kid, it was stumbling across the Warren black and white magazines at the drugstore and realizing that comics weren't necessarily for kids. Then finding the Spirit and figuring out what that is. Warren reprinted Eisner's Spirits in eight story chunks in a magazine. I thought that was really amazing how he could do what he could do in 7 pages as far as telling a complete story. Before that, it'd have to be the Barks Ducks. I was a real big fan of that. That's because my parents didn't let me have superheroes back when I was a kid because they were too violent. But other than that, once I was able to get superheroes, it's like first 50 issues of Teen Titans and the John Byrne X-Men Claremont run on it's just comics to me that's a big thing. The really other big series for me is the Archie Goodwin and Walter Simonson Manhunter run that ran in the back of Detective Comics for about 8 months. That to me is just classic stuff because he was taking the sharpness of Eisner's writing, and then Simonson was it was like his first really big professional gig. So he was kicking the walls out, going, "Hey, I can do this!" Boom, and it was just mind blowing to me. Going back and looking at it now, it's really dated, and the guy's costume's really crazy, and ninjas and throwing stars all over the place. But the story, the idea behind this story is just, to me, is just great stuff, and it really widened my eyes as far as the capabilities of writing and that. So that would be the big ones for me.
All right, cool. Yeah, I think this portion of the show, we're close to the end, so I have to softball you guys with another softball question. So because we already covered like a heavy topic in the beginning, so
yeah.
So here's an easy one.
So I threw that in there.
What are you guys reading now? Right? What are you guys reading?
Well,
who's up? I don't even. I think Nick.
Okay, go ahead.
I've been just reading some older stuff lately. I've been reading. I have a Witchblade omnibus that was like on, I think, in Kickstarter, I think like a few years back. So I just been reading old school Witchblade. I kind of stopped reading the new Witchblade series. I got really bored. But I did the other day pick up that new like Emma Frost one-shot thing they're doing, and first issue in, it seems pretty good. It's in the 60s, which I like. So yeah, that's what I've been reading lately.
All right, cool. AJ?
I've been reading some of the new Wonder Woman, Absolute Wonder Woman stuff. So the Mattia de Ulis, I think it's how you pronounce his last name. So his stuff I've been reading. I finished I think the Last God, and I just finished last week. I've read the whole thing in a weekend. It was so good. It's Riccardo Federici one. But just today, from what Mariano was talking about earlier, I just finished volume 2 of The Human Target like this morning. It was awesome. Seriously, like that was just I don't even know what to call this style. Like it's all just like so bright, but the mood changes so quickly and so effectively. It's like I don't know what to call it. But seriously, that Greg Smallwood's work is just out of this world, man.
Is that written by Tom King?
Yeah, I think it was Tom King. Yeah, and the writing was really great. I sent Mariano a picture actually this morning. There's a part of like a caption in the caption box where the grammar was off by like one letter, and I was like, oh no, because I thought the character's like mind was breaking down. I'm like, oh no, the character's going crazy, and then it's like, no, it was just one little slip up in the dialogue. I'm like, oh crap, I just misread this entire sequence. But that was so seriously, everything in the book was just so sick. I loved it.
All right, cool. Rod, what are you reading these days?
I recently picked up, because I've heard so much about it, and it's one of those things where you have a list and you're like, I should pick that up one day. And that one day came, and a comic book seller friend of mine was selling, in his store, in his display, he was selling that large omnibus of Saga. And I picked it up. I said, sure, I'll pick this up, So, then I read through it, and you can say I binged watched it or something like that because I couldn't put it down. And I said, oh, okay, so that's why there were a lot of people are saying good things about this book. And I want to write like this. I love it when I discover a book like that where I get something out of it, and I want to become as good as they are with writing characters. So I said, yeah, definitely good choice. So yeah, that's what I speed read. I mean, I binge watched it, that's what my word, So anyway, yeah, that's my latest.
Yeah, I've been there. Mariano, what are you reading these days?
I haven't been reading that much comics lately, but I've been definitely interested in The Human Target, as I said before, because storytelling wise, that's kind of like the best I've seen lately. And I do like to, from time to time, get a hold of like some French comics from here and there. There's one guy called Ralph Mayer that makes a book called Undertaker. It's kind of like a Western. It's so good. Like those guys are on another level. So that's always like a very good book. So I try to look up and aspire to get to that level one day.
All right.
Is that book in French?
No, I got it. So I got an Spanish version. So like
okay,
yeah,
so
I got it on
Spanish.
Amazon.
Yeah.
But I think the original is in French for sure.
Okay.
But like we couldn't get the like not even they come in like hardcovers or like big formats, but they're like amazing art. It's insane.
Yeah, so much of that the European material is just incredible.
Oh my god, yeah, that's another level for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, like, speaking of like European comics, I love two of them that I revert to always for stuff like Gilliam March. His book Carmen is immaculate. It's he drew Gotham City Sirens for a very long time, and then I'm in no way classified myself as a furry or anything, but the book series Black Sad is like some of the most beautiful drawn artwork I've ever seen. And it's like all in watercolor too, so it's a really cool noir story with like they're all just animals, a cat detective. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I think Daphne's talked about that a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it's a gorgeous.
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Randy, what are you reading these days?
Right now, I've got an open reserve on any of the Barbarian books that Titan is doing. They're doing some really interesting things with Conan, and trying to stay up with that and make sure I'm not close to what they're doing. Other than that, I just sat down and reread the first couple of years worth of Defenders. That was really interesting. Something that I enjoyed a lot when I was a kid. non-team. Everybody hated each other, but they always got back together again. The next big adventure.
Yeah, man, but that shit does not hold up. Oh my god.
Oh, it's fun though.
No,
it's fun.
False. I did the exact same thing. I have the entire run in my basement right now, and I was like, let me read this shit again because it's been a long time, and every episode is the goddamn same. They're always apologizing to each other, and oh my god, I'm so sorry that we.
They're always arguing at the end,
going,
like, "I'm not coming back."
Shit, like this is not good. Let me put it to you this way: anybody want a full run of Defenders? There are parts of it that I like. There are moments that I like. I think there are good things throughout the 152 issues of the thing. But
no, I'm not talking 152. I'm talking first 50.
Yeah,
Sal Buscema on the top of his game. And,
sure.
As Anthony Kraft comes in, Keith Giffen for a couple of issues, and then right after that, in my opinion, the title goes right off a cliff. But before that,
we're not that far off on opinion.
We're not that far superhero off. Adventures like the first 50 Perez and Wolfman Titans, or the Byrne Claremont Austin runs on X-Men. It's just classic brain check fun stuff.
Yeah. You know? Tom, what are you reading these days?
Nothing.
Come on, you just said you read The Defenders.
I shouldn't say nothing. But it's very little. As far as new stuff, there's nothing on the rack that I care about on the new stuff really.
Right.
I am getting the Battle Beast book because I'm an Invincible guy, so I got that one, which is cool. And surprisingly, the Godzilla, the Marvel Godzilla stuff has been not bad. I took a flyer on it just to take a shot. Like, all right, so show me what you're doing. Fantastic Four one was terrible, but the Hulk one was great. Spider-Man was pretty good. X-Men, okay. So it's been a nice return to okay, let me read some Godzilla books again. So that's been kind of a surprise for me that those have been reasonable. Just like you said, Randy, it's just turn your head off, have a little fun.
Exactly.
The superheroes are fighting giant monsters. Let's have a little fun with it.
I think that's the big thing that people have forgotten about superheroes. It's actually a fantasy genre.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You know, and sometimes you just have to brain check, sit back and just enjoy that great old. We just went through the old John Buscema Avengers on the podcast. Just check your brain and enjoy the supervillain fights.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, that's
pretty much it for me as far as modern stuff.
Yeah.
For myself, going back and forth from work, I'm reading something called Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy.
Okay.
It is like the grimiest Western you could ever imagine.
That's a regular book, though, right? A prose
book?
Yeah,
that's an actual book.
Yeah.
But that's something I'm reading 20 pages at a time. It's literally back and forth from work. But when I go to bed, I'm reading currently Richard Corman's Dimwood, which was the last work he produced before he passed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Corbin. My man. He was what? Either in his late 70s or early 80s, and he was still producing work on Top Line. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. This is stuff that if he had lived another 4 or 5 years, because I believe it was Jose Villaruba colored it, and he had the 120 pages. I think were all pen and inked out. Jose colored it, and Richard Corbin's daughter finished the scripting the last 15 pages of it. So most of it was done. You know what I mean? And it was already illustrated out. So it's just incredible that a man, he was still going at it, and good on him. Yep. The other thing I'm reading is Jenny Sparks by Tom King.
Okay.
And so far so good. I've been liking it. So he has. I don't think he hasn't done anything to offend I guess Warren Ellis at this moment. So. Because from the Authority, that's why. Because it's Warren Ellis that created it. Yeah. This was a lot of fun. All right, gentlemen. It's been a lot of fun. We made it to hour 2, and let's start with AJ. AJ, please let everybody know where they can find you and your work.
Sure. For our project, The End, if you want to find that out, it's just go to Kickstarter, type in The End, and the title card image is the little diver guy with the red and blue background. My stuff is really all on Instagram. Got It's our art of AJ Cassetta with underscores between the words. And I have a book out that I contributed to called Tales from the Cursed Edge. It's not a comic book. It's like a prose book. So I have a 40-page short story in there. That's the most recent thing. And other than that, yeah, just check out Instagram and that's it.
All right, cool. Rod, where can they find you in your work, sir?
You can usually find me online on Facebook, Rod Espinosa, or my Patreon, which is all, you also type Rod Espinosa there. And my series, Adventure Finders, is on there. So if you were interested in subscribing, so the subscribers these days actually get a lot of perks. As you know, with Patreon, you can get the backlog issues, So that's a lot of reading, and every new subscriber is welcome to join in. And then I still have a few more episodes to do after that, but it's rather slow going right now this summer because I have family members coming over to visit and vacation here, so I have to take care of them. But pretty much that, and then Adventure Finders, Adventure Kingdom also. They're both the same adventure title. Adventure Kingdom is also through GameCrafter.com. It's a fantastic board game. It's made for families to play. You can play it. You can play it with children, or you can play it with adults. If you're all adults, obviously you're gonna play it on a different level than if children just played them. It's almost like playing Magic the Gathering. Almost, it's Magic Light with a little bit of a Dungeons and Dragons put in there. So yeah, it's a lot of exploring. It's just a fun game. And every game lasts anywhere from 30 minutes. The smaller game will last for 30 minutes, and then the longer game will be 2 hours, 3 hours, something like that. And that's pretty much my stuff.
All right, cool. Mariano, where can they find you and your work, sir?
So I mostly post whatever I can on Instagram. My handle is Mariano B Chapo. Usually, like lately, I kind of be posting a lot of new stuff until it gets announced. But hopefully, shortly, I'll be able to post some more cool stuff that I've been working on.
All right, cool. Nick?
I'm primarily on Instagram and on Facebook at Caponi Art. I also have my sister Instagram page for Sky Main Studios. It's just at Sky Main Studios, where we post, regular upcoming campaigns we have for Purity and other incoming titles. I'm going to be launching a really cool Cinderella book in the new year. Basically, if Cinderella is mixed with Absolute Wonder Woman, so it's going to be a fun time. But I'm on there as well. I'm also on Twitter or X at Caponi Art, and that's where I'm at.
All right, cool. Randy, where can they find you and your work, sir?
You can find the Shadow Kingdom and 2 issues of the Atlantean, all available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any place that you could order books through the Ingram ordering system, and criticalblast.com also has those books available. Look for Atlantean 3 on Fund My Comic in the middle of July. We're going to start the campaign for that. And then after that, I'm working on an Anniversary Omnibus, which I'm hoping to have out by the end of the year. Probably 3 volumes of fun on a property that I haven't, it's been about 40 years since it was out. Then after that, probably some monkey business with a couple of cartoon monkeys. So that's up next on the list. So Atlantean 4 is currently being scripted, which will give me hopefully enough time to work on that Anniversary book and get to a little monkey business with Spank and Shock. So that's on the list, at least.
It's on the list. So. Happy to hear it. Ta.
BigDogInk.com, guys. Go get your Big Dog Ink books. 15 years of Big Dog Ink. We've got trade paperbacks for everything that's not in print in single issues, but if you like back issues, go to the website. Whatever we have is there. Penny for Your Soul launches on Tuesday. We're going to be doing our first omnibus in August for The Legend of Oz, The Wicked West. Then we'll have our BD15 anthology in October, and then round out the year with Penny for Your Soul, the final issue. And I've started a podcast of my own. We do it on Monday nights with singer and actress and cosplayer Allison Lear. We're called the Oz Couple. We talk all things Wizard of Oz and pop culture and all that kind of stuff. So we'll be there doing that here on Facebook tomorrow night.
Okay, good. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those different places. Mostly on Kickstarter now with the Oswald Chronicles currently running on there. And next Sunday we'll be back, and I believe the following Tuesday I'll also be back on my other show with Rob Motari. So, and just remember, everybody, please go check out the links, go check out the show notes, because in those show notes are the links to everybody's campaigns here. Click on those links, buy these books. These creators are all doing fantastic work. They're all putting their sweat, their blood, their tears, the love of their craft. They're putting it in this work.
Right into the ink, we put it right into the ink
all the time. So go check out their work, and just remember, everyone, read more indie comics, especially ours. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.